Minister of Health says we have learned a lot from this pandemic. Member of SMAP addresses the Simpson Bay Lagoon cleanup project. And Dr. Anders Jorien Wouter has earned her place in the second chamber of the Netherlands. Those are the headlines for Thursday, March the 18th, 2021. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me. And as usual, we have a full newscast prepared for you, so let's get started. In our first story, in news out of the Netherlands, D66 is the biggest winner in the Dutch parliamentary elections with a provisional 24 seats, equaling its best ever result in a general election. But Mark Rutte's VVD also held up well, adding 2 more seats to its total in 2017, as Kaag profited mainly from the desertion of GroenLinks voters. The 2 parties will undoubtedly make the run in forming the next coalition, but despite initial predictions, the easiest option of a 3-way partnership with the CDA would leave them 1 seat short of a majority. St. Martin's former Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, Dr. Anders Jorien Wouter, took part in the election on the slate of D66 at the number 20 position. With the success of D66 in the general elections, it now means that she has earned her place in the second chamber of the Netherlands.
I'm excited and, looking at this outcome, it is beyond the expectations. We did see, of course, the polls rising the last couple of days, so that did give a hint stating that it might even go beyond the 19th, because the day before the elections, the polls indicated that we would probably win 19 seats. Yeah. And then to see that outcome yesterday with now the provisional of 24 and hopefully still 25 seats, it's beyond our expectations and imagination. So it's wonderful. And it shows that the party leader, in the Netherlands, they often said, where is the Kaag effect? Because her name is Sigrid Kaag. So long time they highlighted whether that major impact was going to happen. And it did happen. And she also emphasized this morning that in the Netherlands we should recognize that words matter and values matter. And that is, I believe, the most important conclusion and highlight that I would like to relay to you, as she has championed new leadership. We were the number 4 party, and we exceeded CDA, and we also exceeded PVV. And especially the latter party was for me very important, so that indeed D66 could come out as a strong party, as the number 2 party, and in a strong position to also negotiate and enter for the coalition assessments, etc. So I'm super excited. I'm super proud, of course. I am a Caribbean candidate. I did partake as a Caribbean candidate residing in the Caribbean on St. Martin, and that gives that special sense of feeling humble, that the smallest country within the kingdom matters. And but of course we have to await all the final preparations, the final counts, and there could be still some changes also due to preferential votes. So you always have to be alert and consider that there could be some movements that are extraordinary. So, but for now, I am extremely proud of the results of the party. I congratulate and really salute Sigrid Kaag for her tremendous position and role in the final debates these last couple of weeks. She won the majority of the debates, and that shows in the result of D66. Yeah.
What does it mean now for the representation of St. Martin and for Jorien Wouter in particular?
Well, first of all, it is not a representation of St. Martin in the second chamber. I'm a representative of the people in general. Of course, the fact that I have my Caribbean base and roots and philosophy and background ensures that I will bring those perspectives to the table. And ultimately, especially in the Netherlands, it is about who will have which portfolio. Still has to clarify and has to be decided. So, and to what extent I will then therefore champion certain causes and certain issues, that still needs to be negotiated and be brought to the forefront. So that is too premature to see how that would then, for instance, then also influence St. Martin. But I'm proud, and I'm proud to put St. Martin in that sense on the map. I mean, people even sensed it when they saw the voter ballot with the names, and then seeing Jorien Buiten with St. Martin as her place of residence gave people that feeling of, pride or, sense of representation. And that is so much needed for not only the countries within the Kingdom of the Netherlands, but also about people of color with a bicultural background, because, the last couple of months it has clearly been about the representation of the Afro community within the second chamber as well. Mm-hmm. So with that, I can also salute others, men and women, that made it to the second chamber, and I hope that will change the narrative and enrich the second chamber so that the entire society, but also when it's about certain issues addressing St. Martin or Curaçao or Aruba or Bonaire, St. Stacia or Seba, that they feel represented and that they feel recognized in terms of identity, in terms of the needs and the priorities that need to be addressed for the Caribbean. I really hope and look forward to that type of progress in the days and weeks ahead. It starts 31st of March, so that is still kind of like 2 weeks from now. So the next 2 weeks are relevant in terms of preparatory steps that need to be taken.
Our congratulations goes out to Dr. Anders Jorien Buiten on her very successful run. And now in more news out of The Hague, Netherlands, the Dutch State Secretary of Home Affairs and Kingdom Relations, Raymond Knop, said on Wednesday that he was unpleasantly surprised by the petition of the St. Martin Parliament to the United Nations, the UN, in which the Netherlands is accused of racism and neo-colonization. According to Knops, the submitted petition contradicts the earlier committed support of St. Martin for the conditions, including the implementation of reforms that are attached to the Dutch liquidity support for the duration of the coronavirus crisis. The petition displays a different sound which is not compatible with earlier statements of the same persons. It was an unpleasant surprise for me. That is why I have asked the St. Martin government for clarity, Knop said in a statement provided to the Daily Herald. Knop said that since the start of the coronavirus crisis, the Netherlands has assisted St. Martin as well as the other Dutch Caribbean countries, which is Aruba and Curaçao, with a broad support package consisting of, among other things, medical assistance, food aid for the vulnerable residents, and budget support to cope with the financial adversity. He noted that conditions were only attached to the budget support. The State Secretary referred to St. Martin's position as autonomous country and its ability to deal with major crises. It has come to the conclusion that St. Martin at this moment cannot carry out its autonomy. I repeat, I don't want to take away St. Martin's own autonomy. To the contrary, I want to help them so that they can fully carry that autonomy in a couple of years. Knop said that is why the Dutch government would be assisting St. Martin with the implementation of the necessary reforms in a collaboration trajectory that includes a country package and also investments. And in other news at this time, and still on the topic of the Netherlands, the St. Martin Anti-Poverty Platform and the St. Martin Consumers Coalition held their weekly press conference earlier today, Thursday, March the 18th. The first speaker at the press conference was member of the SMAP, Dr. Anders Raymond Jeseroen. In his presentation, he expounded on the two young MPs from the Party of Progress, namely Melissa Gomes and Rayon Peterson, and the two veteran MPs from the United Democrats, namely Sarah Westcott Williams and former MP and Minister of Finance, Mr. Perry Heerlings, who have publicly questioned the half-page petition of the Joe Harris Law Group of Washington, D.C., who gave a presentation on Tuesday, March the 9th, to the UN human rights bodies and was accompanied by a 25-page document.
4 $10,000 a month local politicians question a $7,000 a month law group. 2 young MPs from the Party for Progress, MP Melissa Gums and MP Rayon Peterson, and 2 veteran MPs from the United Democrats, MP Sarah Westcott Williams and former MP and Minister of Finance Perry Higgins, publicly questioned the half-page petition of the Coharis Law Group of Washington, D.C., presented on Tuesday, March the 9th, to these UN human rights bodies, accompanied by a 25 pages document. Which of the 9 requests made these 4 politicians refuted? So far, we have not read one of these requests being refuted. What are they opposing then? What in the petition and the accompanying statements are not correct, according to these politicians? The Party for Progress remarks that the document itself uses very little legal arguments to make its case that St. Martin is being racially discriminated against. There are also several blatant lies they wrote in a press release within the document, the most obvious of which is on page 3. We quote, the document states that St. Martin was forced to enter into agreement for the CFT, the Party for Progress says, but it has been acknowledged, they say, and admitted both in the press and on the floor of Parliament that the architects of our country's status agreed to the creation of the CFT. It was to our understanding, they say, that anything related to this committee and its processes would be based on facts and not on emotional fiction. End quote. The fact that this CFT was imposed on St. Martin and not on Aruba when Aruba got a separate status in 1986, neither to supervise also the Netherlands, is a clear example of racial discrimination. MP Westcott Williams said that the petition contains some blatant errors, including referring to St. Martin's citizens as citizens of the Dutch government. We have read the document and could not find where in the document St. Martin's citizens were referred to as citizens of the Dutch government. We really want to get the list of blatant errors the MP has detected. Question for MP Sarah Westcott Williams. Are the blatant errors she detected in the document, when corrected, proving that we are not racially being discriminated?
And still to come, Chamber President fields questions regarding the tax system. And we'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Hi, I'm Switch.
And I'm Save.
And together we're here
to tell you about WIB, Switch, and Save Mortgage Offer.
Now at WIB, you can save and benefit from great specials when you decide
to bring your mortgage to WIB.
When you switch, WIB will offer you
payment of penalty fees up to 3 months interest,
payment of notary fees,
waive of bank closing fees,
and also the lowest interest rate.
Plus, you'll have the chance to win back 1 year of interest payment.
Visit any of WIB's mortgage specialists and benefit from WIB's Switch and
Hey, that's my part. And Save Mortgage Offer.
WIB, your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. As we continue now with the SMAP's press briefing of earlier today, another member of the SMAP and the SMCC, Claire Elshot, addressed the Simpson Bay Lagoon cleanup project, whereby the NRPB announced the launch of the Simpson Bay Lagoon cleanup project, which is to start this week, March the 15th, 2021. This cleanup activity will salvage, decommission, and dispose of approximately 120 vessels which have been observed to be either moored, partially or fully submerged in or around the Simpson Bay Lagoon. Speaking at the press conference, member of the SMAP says that the project will cost $14 million. This is only to clean up shipwrecks. The owners most probably already received money from their insurance company and bought a new boat to occupy. Meanwhile, 280 families could have been provided a better build-back social home project for that amount of money. Here we see another priority set, which is again not a build back better and stronger project. The member of the SMAP expounded further.
Announced the launch of the Simpson Bay Lagoon Clean-Up Project to start this week of March the 15th, 2021. The cleanup activity will salvage, decommission, and dispose of approximately 120 vessels which have been observed to be either moored, partially or fully submerged in or around the Simpson Bay Lagoon. Many of these vessels are also believed to have been shipwrecked as far back as Hurricane Louis in 1995. All removal activities will be done in an environmental friendly way according to the project's environmental and social management plan. This plan mitigates environmental and social risks that may be connected to the project. The project will cost $14 million. This is only to clean up the shipwrecks. The owners most probably already received money from their insurance companies and bought a new boat to occupy. Meanwhile, 280 families could not have been provided a better build-back social home for that amount of money. Here we see another priority set, which again is not a build-back better and stronger project. We already commented on the slow pace of the World Bank Trust Fund project recently, when a few weeks ago the start of 3 school repairs project was announced, and still 26 schools are awaiting structural repairs. The project has been designed in consultation with the Ministries of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environmental and Infrastructure, which is the FROMI, and the Tourist Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, which is TIAT. When FROMI will design the more than 13,000 social homes needed for the more than 13,000 poor and needy families, for them to have a better build-back home. When will this happen, FROMI? We are a few months ahead of the next hurricanes, 4 years after Irma hit us.
And in other news at this time, the Minister of Health, the Honorable Richard Panafleck, speaking at the Council of Ministers weekly press briefing on Wednesday last, announced that yesterday, March the 17th, marked the 1-year anniversary that the first COVID-19 case was detected on French St. Martin. The Minister of Health, in observing the day, said that we have learned a lot from this pandemic, how fragile our economy is, the importance of a strong public health system, and ensuring that we have a healthcare infrastructure that meets the demands that are required in a health crisis.
Today marks 1 year since St. Martin reported its first COVID-19 case on the southern side of the island. This time last year, there were a lot of unknowns with panic and fear seeping into public sentiment. What we had hoped to avoid was not inevitable and on our shores. No one could have ever predicted how crippling COVID-19 would have been. People lost their jobs, families were separated from loved ones, parents had to learn to balance working remotely while adapting to distance learning for their children. Social distancing, hand hygiene, and mask wearing became the norm. We have learned a lot from this pandemic. How fragile our economy is, the importance of a strong public health system, and ensuring that we have a healthcare infrastructure that meets the demands that are required in a health crisis. And like every natural disaster that has come to our shores, we have proven time and time again that we are a resilient people. I would like to pause for a moment to recognize the 27 lives lost as a result of the outbreak on St. Martin and hope that the families have found comfort and strength from the community in helping to keep their loved ones' memories alive. May their souls rest in peace. I want to acknowledge the frontline healthcare workers and those behind the scenes, such laboratory professionals. They navigated the crisis, risked their lives, sacrificed their family and personal time to help and save others. I would also like to thank colleagues within government, the health professionals from the Netherlands, the AMI team, local businesses, and countless volunteers who generously devoted their time to support CPS in their tough hours. Today, we see 10 active cases of COVID-19. And while this trend is moving in the right direction, I want to remind the public that we are not out of the woods as yet. We have been here before. Just past summer, after much sacrifice, dedication, and effort, we saw 0 cases for almost 2 months, followed by a drastic resurge. This is a reminder that COVID-19 is real, and resurges in these may be inevitable, and collectively we need to do our part to protect ourselves, our families, and our greater community.
And at the continuation of the meeting of the Committee of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication of Parliament, CTEAT, which was adjourned on February the 16th and reconvened on Tuesday last, March the 16th, and who met with the board of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry to discuss the tax system, President of the Chamber, Jennifer Carty, fielded a number of questions from Member of Parliament for the U.S. Party, the Honorable Claudius Van Camper, on the tax system. The Chamber President addressed the issues.
Considering the considered impression that the island has about 30% tax compliance, would you agree that the number of companies registered, but which may long be inactive, are contributing to this percentage, while in fact these companies should have been removed from the register? Yes. If government is using the total numbers of if government is using the number of total registered businesses that is derived from COSI's data to draw this conclusion. Now that the Chamber has a mandate to deregister businesses that are non-compliant, we hope that the data will be more accurate while strengthening the relationship with stakeholders such as the tax department. Is the cooperation and synchronization taking place with the tax office? And if not, what is the obstacle? Unfortunately, no. As of right now, every organization has their own database and is very protective of their data, as I refer to it as organizational kingdoms. Some for the right reasons, such as security concerns. The tax office would want to protect the tax information of the public. The obstacle or lack of cooperation could be an IT or technical obstacle or a safety reason. Currently, our country does not have a single source of truth. The single source of truth is a concept used to ensure that everyone in an organization or multiple organizations base their business decisions on the same data. We believe having a single source of truth, such as the e-government, is crucial for the country to increase compliance across the board, not only at Chamber or not only at Tax Department. E-government would ensure that the tax office and the Chamber have their own rights as to what information is accessible at each institution. We hope that Parliament can provide additional support needed or to ensure the realization and completion of the e-government project, which to our understanding is being funded by the NRPB and is being executed by government. The Dutch Caribbean islands just launched theirs called Mijn CN.nl, similar to that of Holland, which is called DigiD.
Now, turning to our weather forecast for March the 18th, 2021. A drier and more stable atmosphere in the wake of a frontal boundary will restrict precipitation during this forecast period. The Atlantic high pressure ridge will maintain mostly moderate winds. Long period northerly swells will cause seas to peak at 10 feet with gradual improvement as the weekend approaches. Therefore, a small craft advisory is in effect for St. Martin. Small craft operators and sea bathers should exercise caution. So the outlook through Saturday midday, fair to partly cloudy and breezy with brief isolated showers possible. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Garrick J. Richardson has been proposed to become the next Secretary General of the Parliament of St. Martin. And I'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
The innovative Banco Matico contactless smart card. Your Banco Matico smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News. And as we continue now with more news, Garrick J. Richardson has been proposed to become the next Secretary General of the Parliament of St. Martin. This disclosure was made public Wednesday morning by the second Vice Chairperson of Parliament, the Honourable Grisha Heiliger Martin, during the meeting of House and Assembly dealing with an advice concerning the appointment of the Secretary General of Parliament. If confirmed by the House, Mr. Richardson's appointment will take effect as per the 1st of April 2021.
With the honourable dismissal of Mrs. Nancy Guichard-Joubert as Secretary General of the Parliament of St. Martin effective August 1, 2020, the position of Secretary General became vacant. In February 2020, an ad was placed for the position of Secretary General of Parliament. Several applicants sent in their application based on this interview was held. The Presidium deemed Mr. Garrick J. Richardson the most suitable candidate and therefore proposed appointment of Mr. Garrick J. Richardson to be appointed as Secretary General as of April 1st, 2021.
And as we end this evening's edition of SXM Daily News, we end it on a sad note. The island lost an icon on March the 11th, 2021. Mr. Bernard Alexander Henry, who was born on the island of St. Eustatius on January the 8th, 1938, was the driver for several lieutenant governors, including Mr. Rainier van Delden, Mr. Ralph Richardson, Mr. Dennis Richardson, and Mr. Franklin Richards. Mr. Bernard Alexander Henry went by many aliases such as Iceman, Saggy, Barbecue Man, Hammer, Snake, Beef, Governor, Rice, and Bernie the Sheik. Mr. Alexander Henry also loved playing music. He played the drums for the Cool Cats in 1962, the Rolling Stones, and the Body and Soul Band back in the day. Mr. Henry was laid to rest earlier today and was interred at the Catholic Cemetery on Front Street. SXM Daily News extends our deepest sympathy to the many friends and relatives that he has left to mourn. And with that, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you so much for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.